Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do those cuts worry you, and do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Delta CEO Ed Bastian destroying the mainstream media, and in this case, it's Gayle King of CBS, over the idea of FAA cuts impacting air traffic control. Now, before I get to the video, this right here is a prime example of why the mainstream media sucks very badly. They intentionally mislead the public. Now, it is true that there have been cuts at the FAA, and it's also true that air traffic control is part of the FAA. But what's not true is that the cuts impacted air traffic control. Okay, but the mainstream media will put those things out there and make you believe that the cuts are going to take away air traffic control people. That's how they do. Regular normies, if you ask normies who are upset about the FAA cuts, if you ask them why, that's what they'll say. Oh, well, we got planes crashing and he's cutting FAA. That must mean and more air traffic control. That's what they think. And Ed Bastian, again, destroyed them over that particular issue. Now, before I go any further, let's get to the video. If you want to see this video in full without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, Facebook, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
We welcome you back to CBS Mornings, but it's the story we're all talking about because there's still so much we don't know about why a Delta jet carrying 80 people crashed in Toronto on Monday.
Now, I'm going to pause right here. You see this footage? This is a plane upside down. Okay, this is the plane upside down. And I think I have footage of the actual crash. And what you can see from the footage is that it looks like it's leaning to one side and then the wing clipped the ground. And what's the wing clipped the ground combined with the wind and the speed of the aircraft, it flipped it over. That's what it looks like to me. Again, any aviation experts, y'all let me know if I'm right or wrong in the comments. But let's keep on going.
Monday. 2 people are still hospitalized, but amazingly, everybody on board survived. That is such good news. Delta CEO Ed Bastian joins us now for an exclusive interview. We're also going to bring in our transportation correspondent, Chris Van Cleve, for this conversation. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Ed. Good to see you, Ed Bastian, this morning. Chris?
Ed, can you talk to us?
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Gail.
Oh.
Awkward. Okay, let's do the actual good morning. How are you? Good to be with you. Come on, young man. Let's get to it.
Ed, I know there's an investigation here, so there's some things you can't tell us, but have you been able to learn anything about this accident that may help people understand what went so wrong here?
Well, before I get to your question, Chris, I want to express my deep appreciation and thanks for the crew on board the plane. Our Endeavor crew performed heroically, but also as expected. This is what we train for. We train for this continuously. The fact that they were able to evacuate that plane as expeditiously as they did under extreme conditions, coupled with the fact that all 80 people walked off the plane with limited physical injuries, was really a testament to the safety that's embedded in the systems. I want to thank the first responders, the medical team, the care teams on board the Toronto airport, everyone. And the design of the aircraft itself worked as expected. I can't provide any details, Chris. It's an ongoing investigation, as you are aware. Other than, we've all seen the media, we've all seen the videos. That's about as much detail as we can look at and talk about at this moment.
Ed, I've gotten a lot of questions from people about the pilots here. Can you tell us how experienced these pilots were? Would they have...
Before he gets into that, I'm not quite sure it's about the pilots. I think if we're going to, point fingers, I think, first of all, the weather conditions, you had inclement weather, you had 40-mile-an-hour winds, you had snow, you probably had ice on the runway potentially, but you definitely had snow. You had inclement weather. That's number one. And number two, I think maybe that flight shouldn't even happen. Now, again, this is going to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm not sure who is responsible for calling that off. Is it that stateside where it took off, or is it where it's going to land? Which would be most appropriate because that's where the bad weather is. But let me let him finish.
Have been familiar with that airport, particularly the conditions in the winter in Toronto?
Absolutely. It was an experienced crew. There's one level of safety at Delta, Chris, between our mainline and our regional jets. All of these pilots train for these conditions. They fly under all kinds of conditions at all the airports in which we operate. So, no, there's nothing specific with respect to experience that I'd look to.
And I was thinking, too, all the passengers that we've talked to are giving big kudos to your crew, so I'm glad you gave them a shout-out. The flight attendants, they said, remain calm under all the circumstances. But I just can't stop looking at this video. I'm sure you are, too. And I'm wondering, when you first saw it, number one, Ed, I didn't even know a plane could flip over like that, number one. Number two, it says Delta Airlines. What went through your mind when you saw that picture? And I'm sure you've looked at this video many, many times. I'm a very nervous flyer, as you know, and I'm just so freaked out by this. So when you saw this, what did you think?
Well, it's horrifying when you look at the video. You can imagine, when I received the text minutes after it happened, hearing that there was a regional jet upside down on an active runway with 80 people on board, how I felt without knowing yet what was transpiring. But the reality is that safety is embedded into our system. Air travel in the United States is the safest form of transportation and travel there is, period. And it's because we train for events like this. And yes,
I'm going to pause them right quick. One thing about a lot of the mishaps that we've seen lately, I think you're going to see, how can I say, you're going to see more press behind some of the mishaps that don't result in loss of life. It could be anything, just like when that door flew off a while back. And after that, you kept hearing about other stuff. Oh, a tire came off. Things that might not make the news previously made the news because of the whole door situation. And since we had plane crashes, a mid-air collision and whatnot, now you're going to see more mishaps get reported, even if they're not as severe as a plane crash or the rollover here.
it's amazing the work that our team did up at Endeavor, but that's what we expect out of them because we are prepared for all types of circumstances.
You know, the Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do those cuts worry you, and do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
So that question and the way that they normally present their news stories makes it seem like the FAA cuts are going to impact air traffic control. Oh, we got all these mishaps. What's going on? Okay, let's point the finger at the FAA cuts. They must be impacting air traffic control. That's the way that she sounds. That's what she's saying. Even if she didn't say it directly, she said it in the way that the average normally would take it that way. But let's see what the response is.
The cuts do not affect us, Gail. I've been in close communication with the Secretary of Transportation. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration has committed to investing deeply in terms of improving the overall technologies that are used in the air traffic control systems and modernizing the skies. They've committed to hiring additional controllers and investigators and safety investigators. So, no, I'm not concerned with that at all.
Very, very well said. 100% the truth. And one thing about it, I'm hearing from different people, some disagree, but they're saying that the air traffic control system is antiquated and it needs to be completely redone, overhaul, a brand new system. That's what I'm hearing. So what I'm hearing from Ed Bastian kind of falls in line with that. They're going to invest more into the system to make the skies safer rather than trying to cut, which is what the mainstream media would have you believe.
Ed, the administration has also called on Elon Musk to modernize air traffic control. From an airline standpoint, what needs to be done to make the system better? And a quick follow, if I can, what do you say to the people who are nervous getting on airplanes right now?
Well, to the public, I can understand the concerns at the moment. The reality is it's safer than the car ride I took this morning to get to my office. It is the safest form of transportation, period. And it's safe because in our industry, we all focus on safety. And we're a very competitive industry across the U.S. airlines. There's one thing we do not compete on, and that's safety. We all work together. We learn from each other. Every single incident that happens, whether it's reported or not, gets reported back to our teams that we share across the industry. So we learn from each other, and this incident, as terrible as it appears, was something that we'll learn from. They'll make us better.
There we go. So shout out again. This is Ed Bastian, the CEO of Delta Airlines. Okay. Look, as I close, I want to say this. I understand those who are afraid or kind of nervous about flying because of the recent incidents. I get it. But really, there's so many planes in the sky all the time. I don't think you really got to worry about that. And as far as Trump and Elon, to the hysteria behind that, there's no cuts happening at air traffic control. In fact, we're going to be investing more into the system to make it even better, to make the skies safer than what they already are, which is pretty safe. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your thoughts about what Delta CEO Ed Bastian said? Do you feel safe flying? Do you not feel safe flying? How about the FAA cuts? Are you concerned about that? Are you not concerned about that? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I am not concerned at all about the FAA cuts. They're not going to impact air traffic control. In fact, it's the exact opposite. We're going to invest more. We're going to be innovating in that space to make the skies that much safer. And as far as me personally, how I feel in the sky, I mean, I'm not afraid. It is what it is. Flying is safe. Yes, there are mishaps, but that's just life. I can't go through life being afraid of what could happen. Anything could happen. You could walk outside and get hit by a thunderbolt. We're on top of your head. Okay, that could happen to you. But is it going to happen? I mean, maybe, maybe not. I don't live my life in fear like that. Yes, there's been some recent incidents, but there's always little mishaps in general. I'm cool on that. There's always car accidents, but I'm not worried about flipping over and burning whenever I get on the road. It is what it is. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.